Phil, you and I first met at Legal Week in New York.
Yes.
And I remember
My hometown.
You're
Yep,
New
born and
Yorker. I
raised
should
in
have
New York.
known actually by
Yep.
by
Could you
your
tell by the
accent.
accent?
Yeah, I can. When I first met you, I thought to myself, my God, this guy spends more time in the gym than he ever does in the ballroom.
Probably because
you
I'm
are in
trying
seriously good shape. Well, how do you maintain that?
Well, first of all, for any of the folks that are listening to this or watching this, know that getting old is certainly not an exciting.
How old are you now?
57, going to be 58 in November, but who's counting? So yeah, I would say I'm in the category of old, but young at heart. How's that? But I do believe that for me personally, I can't speak or espouse for others what they should or could be doing. For me, exercise is an integral part of wellness, of what I consider longevity and I consider health span, not lifespan, but health span. And so for me personally, I don't know how I could get through a day, a week, a month, a quarter without some form of integrated exercise, high focus on nutrition, and meditation. Like those things to me are really integral parts of being successful in life. And if you don't have that, I'm not sure I'd be a great father, a great community member, or a great, teammate here at Relativity.
So I read on your profile you're a karate person.
Yes, spent most of my adult life in martial arts, yes.
And there's somebody at Legal Week told me you're a cage fighter.
So not really. I think it's funny how urban legend starts getting manifested. Certainly spent enough time on the dojo floor, fighting and sparring. But MMA fighting and UFC fighting is a markedly different gear in the gearbox, if you will. My adult children are active in jiu-jitsu and have evolved their form. I'm probably, I would consider myself a bit past the age of getting in a cage.
Well, I used to box and I had to give up I think when I turned 40, I was just getting cut up too much.
For sure.
Broke my nose a few times. Injuries that just took so much longer.
And recovery takes longer.
Exactly.
And also, if I threw a punch, the guy was already on.
That's
he was
right.
somewhere else. I'm thinking, where the hell?
Yeah, timing gets slowed.
So I thought, okay, so you to be doing this, at 50, 57, 58 is incredible.
Yeah, I think it's something that, again, I think it's all relative. I think that for someone in my category of age or demographic, I'm always looking to be the very best that I can be. Whatever that score is at the end of the day will be the score. But I think we can get too caught up on a number. I think there's your biological age, and I think or chronological age, and then there's really your biomarkers that speak your real age, and that is how you think, how you act, how you eat, how you work. And so, dare I say it, it's a blend, right? I don't think there's any one thing. I will tell you that focusing on exercise, nutrition, and sleep, and mental wellness, those four things, are critical ingredients for me personally.
Yeah, I find sleep the hardest one out of those. But
For sure.
Yeah.
Especially with these jobs, right? These jobs are bigger than who we are.
Yeah, I mean.
And it's a tremendous responsibility. So how do you, at the end of the day, give yourself that time to shut down the email and the Slack and the text and find your center and get good rest? Really important.
I don't know if you found the same, but when I was boxing, it taught me a real profound respect for my fellow creatures out there. The first time I was sparring, they put me in with this real skinny guy, and I thought,
I got this.
Yeah. And he hurt me.
Yeah.
And from that moment, I'll always remember it, but from that moment on, everybody I saw, I never ever judged anymore.
Right.
It was like, okay, I don't know what this guy's about.
That's right.
I'm going to respect him, and I think it makes you a kind of person, doesn't it?
I think so. I think it's also very symbolic or metaphorical of how we think about work, right? Yes, are we in competition with our competition? Are we in a competitive marketplace? For sure. And I believe it's really important for us as Relativians to have that sense of urgency, healthy paranoia about what we can and should be doing better to make it a great day for our customers and partners. So that competition is really healthy, but having respect for your competitive marketplace and acknowledging that this old concept that I've heard from other former or existing CEOs that says, we're going to go kill the competition. I've never been wired that way. I want to win. I want to win fairly. And I also have learned, as you know, as a former boxer, that there's multiple rounds in any bout.
Yeah.
And so you may win a round, but
Yeah.
do you really want to create a legacy for your company, for your people, and for your market? And that's really the rhetorical question.
So can you give us like a review of your career up to the point where you got to Relativity?
Sure. Boy, I hope you have a few hours because it's pretty elongated. I spent probably the foundational part of my career at a company headquartered here in Illinois called Motorola.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
So yeah. So and Motorola has not too far down the street Motorola University in Schaumburg, Illinois, and it was one of the best places to start a career because they really rotated you as an individual through multiple core functions of a company. And so, yes, you were college educated and you were a hard worker and you pass all these wonderful competency tests, but are you apt and ready to really be your very best at work or give you the tool chest to be successful? And so that's where I spent my first, nearly decade of my career building out my capabilities, tech, networking, hardware, software, before software was cool. And then over the years, really spent most of my time in my adult career at a company called SafeNet. SafeNet was headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. It was started by a couple of ex-NSA scientists, heavily government data oriented. And so that 20+ year career at SafeNet taught me everything about the move from hardware to software, from software on-prem to SaaS, to the ever importance of data in everything we do. And so protecting it and leveraging it as for insights. So it was the best foundation anyone could ask for when you think about building a career in technology.
Yeah. Well, my next question is going to be because your last incarnation was in Cornerstone
Yep.
in employee
talent management, employee engagement, education, learning management.
So previous to knowing that bit about you, I was going to say, well, what brought you to legal technology? But I guess
it's interesting. If you look at careers, and it's very easy to take things out of context. Like, hey, you were a learning management or talent management software guy or person. How does that apply at all to relativity and or data discovery? And I would say, okay, let's look wider, right? Let's look at Motorola, let's look at SafeNet, and look at all these data experiences, which is fundamentally what we do here at Relativity, right? It's all about the data and putting it to work to drive really fantastic and notable outcomes. But I would say that the Cornerstone experience for me personally was yet another building block to having the muscle, pardon the phrase, but having the muscle to assess situations and dynamics and look at your experiences and determine, have you seen something like this before? Or how would you leverage that experience to apply to this particular situation? And Cornerstone was a company that acquired Saba Software, which is a company I led for many years. And it was still on the journey from on-premise software to software as a service, full up cloud native. It was a platform that was all about machine learning and AI to draw conclusions and outcomes for employees. So that experience, and then of course the integration of multiple acquisitions, is a wonderful set of tools to apply to a company like Relativity, which is like Cornerstone, a market leader, but also needs to be on its toes to be there not just for the last 10 years, but for the next 10 years plus. So I think that was a fantastic background.
So you're free
bias, of course.
Yeah, of course. You're 300 days in.
Yes.
Pretty much. What have been your biggest challenges so far?
I guess I would start with, probably because I'm an optimist, I would start with the successes first.
I did not say.
I know, but it's important, I think, to balance, right? Like anything else, it's a balance of conversation, and we'll cover them both.
That was my next one.
Okay, yeah. Good. So I would start off with the success only in that, and the success I would call out is getting in rhythm with the company. Part of what you see happening with CEO changes or any executive changes is folks like me could come in and say, okay, we're going to make this with my fingerprints on it. Like it's going to feel like Phil. It has nothing to do with me. Yeah. It actually doesn't. And maybe that's because I have gotten older and I've gotten to a point where you realize that it's actually not about you. It's about the company. It's about something that's a living, breathing organism. It's not a bag full of assets. right? It's a living, breathing organism. And I think the fact that I've become in rhythm, I believe, I'm biased, but I believe we become in rhythm with the company as opposed to the company getting in rhythm with Phil, to me is a tremendous success. I think we're very early in that journey. So to put the flag in the ground to say we've done it is totally unfair. But to say that I think we've made good progress there is, to me, success. So that would be an example of success. I think the challenges are probably things that no one wants to talk about, and that is things like physics and gravity, right? Pardon the relativity pun here, but you, as a good operator, as a good leader, you try very hard to assess the situation, whether it be internal or external, to verify what your gut's telling you versus what the data is telling you. How do you best prioritize the most important things and then go execute? But you're dealing with the headwind of gravity and physics, and that is we're a big company. We have employees around the world, some remote, some in person, and we're trying to shift and pivot along the way, and that takes time and effort and elbow grease. It's not as easy as just saying it will be true. It's rallying around to go get there. And I would say that is probably not just our challenge or opportunity, but that of many. And I'm really focused in on trying to focus on those vital few priorities so that we can knock off what I would call identifiable wins to give us the confidence and conviction that we can conquer almost anything.
I think as leaders in companies, we learn a lot from other leaders. Is there a leader specifically that you have looked to that you really feel has influenced your?
Yeah, I would say that there's this is going to sound almost too politically correct, but the best leader I've come across in my entire life has been my father. And my father is now a retired New York City police officer who on paper, or if you met him in the street, you would be like just another New York retired cop who now lives in Florida, like the rest of the New York City cops. But he's so much more than that. But I'm not giving my mother the credit that she also deserves. But I think as a young man, having a role model and someone that was every bit as of a caring, empathetic person, a person who didn't ever think about going to college, but went to college to get his degree to be a good role model. Yeah. Not because his getting a degree was going to advance his career very much as a cop, but to make sure that his two sons understood that education was important and evolving and learning was important. I would also say that the most important lesson I probably learned was the power of mistakes. You try to make the mistakes small, and ideally, not break the skin, sort of say. But your best winnings are your failures if you apply them properly. And as my father would say, and don't do it again. Don't make the same mistake again. So again, sounds a little bit too polite and nice, but truly authentic. Absolutely the best human being leader, which I think is part of good leadership, right? Are you a good human being?
It was going to be my next question. How would you describe your leadership style?
There's autocratic, and we can go through all the different nomenclature. I would say I am a transformational leader. If I had to put a label on it, which is hard to do because a good leader adapts and is agile to a situation, an environment, a time, a moment, a topic. But I would say if you had to go categorical, I would say transformational. And that is someone that looks at a company and where we are and says, I can and we can identify the need for change for a myriad of reasons. And in order to address that change and go about it in a manner that's effective, i.e. to drive outcomes towards that change, you have to be with an eye of embracing change and empowering change inside the organization and making sure that the organization knows that it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say I missed that or I made a mistake, because when you are in the midst of transformation, you are going to hit potholes. You just want them to be smaller versus larger. Yeah. And so I would say for here, right now, transformational would be the label I would throw on it. I would say the other tweak I would apply is that spending years working for so many different leaders out there, you come across leaders that are command and control. I would say in transformational times, climate control is really important. How do you address the environment for your people, for your market, frankly, for your ecosystem that is agile and is okay with that transformation, knowing that e-discovery is going to be different today than it was yesterday?
Steve Jobs once said that focus is about saying no. When I looked at what you say about focus, you talk about a three-legged stool or three pillars of focus.
Yeah.
Can you expand on this?
It's evolved a little bit. I think if I reflect back on what I thought January, February timeframe versus now September, my three-legged stool was all about the customer and partner experience. It was about innovation with purpose. And it was about this concept of B to B to C. I believe that's a three-legged stool you're probably referring to, because I think we spoke about that a little bit. And B to B to C is really a business-to-business company, but also with a consumer in play. So B to B to C versus either or.
You're B2B.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm your customer.
Yep.
Or the law firm's your customer. The law firm's also my customer, which is a business, so it's B2B2B.
Yep.
So
let me try to clarify. So for a moment, remove partner-customer delineation for just a moment, because I think that's some of the evolution I've had since January. But when I speak of B2B2C, what is in my mind as a company that creates a SaaS offering for customers to utilize to drive success in their careers, their law firms, their companies, their organizations, their partner, their LSP, for instance, there is a consumer using your product. There's someone sitting in front of your UI UX that is trying to accomplish going from, A to Z, right, as you would say in the UK. And so that's a consumer that we have to keep in mind. So yes, there's software companies that say, hey, we're a platform. We don't really think about the end user of our product. I'm like, yeah, you should. Yeah. You absolutely need to, because their journey, or in our world, their workflows, is the best way to kind of exemplify this B2B2C thing. Our partners, our customers, enterprise customers, our law firms, all have workflows that they have built to accomplish an aim and an outcome. If we're just a platform, we're not taking that into consideration. That's the B2B2C mindset. And I believe that we're bringing that mindset further along here at Relativity, which is we're a heck of a lot more than a platform. We're in no small part a mover and influence on our market. And as Uncle Ben said in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. We got to get this right. And there is a consumer. Yes, it's a corporate consumer or a law firm consumer or a partner consumer, but there is a user, is probably the more effective way.
Yeah, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, I think the evolution of that three-legged stool has modified ever so slightly in my learnings here, and that is customer partner experience, undeniable, major anchor point for our success, for our business model, for our market, like undeniable. Innovation with purpose, still a foundational mindset, but further iterated in that now that I've been here for 9 or 10 months, there's been, let's just get this elephant out of the closet and into the room. Relativity 1, or death, was perhaps me being dramatic with purpose, but it was Relativity 1 or else. And my view is, yeah, I believe in Relativity 1. I think it's the crown jewel of our company, and I believe it's our magnetic north, for not just for Relativity. Cloud native is the direction of tech and software companies, let alone e-discovery. However, let's understand where we came from. This company was founded on Relativity Server. Yes, we are growing leaps and bounds as a company, and a large part of that growth is Relativity 1. But we have very precious customers and law firms, customers and partners that rely on Server every day, with hundreds of thousands of workspaces using that platform. So this idea of and really matters to me, not or, but and. Server and Rel 1 really matter. Now, do I believe there's certain things you can do in Relativity 1 and only Relativity 1, i.e. generative AI? Of course. There's certain things that just cloud native is a critical part of. But that doesn't mean that we should leave our server customers behind. And so I think when we talk about innovation with purpose, are we thinking about relativity one, of course, but are we also being cognizant of the fact that we want to not push, but bring our server customers along at a time frame and a particular moment that serves their business and serves their customers and their users. And that is I think, the inflection point on innovation with purpose. Last but not least, on the third leg of the stool, on the iteration of B2B2C, is this whole idea of partner centricity. One thing that I've learned from being here is that, of course, direct touch to law firms and direct touch and understanding of the enterprise customer is really important for us as a software company. We need to understand the needs, wants, personas of people that use our product. But let's not forget that in our market, and I think you would probably agree with this, that the partner, the legal service provider, or variations thereof, are an integral part of a customer's success. Yeah. Let alone the other partners that we have that also are part of our ecosystem, that leverage our APIs to provide true solutions for the end customer, some of which are LSPs. And so that partner centricity, I think, was a little hazy for the company. And over the last several months of me being here, I'm trying to bring much more cogent view and thought that it's not an or, it's an and. You can have a direct touch, understanding the needs of your market, but how do you partner with the folks that help serve the market in a manner that is valuable to all? And that sounds a little bit too harmonious perhaps, but I believe it in my bones.
Relativity has been fairly quiet. With GPT in particular, you've tried to stay above the noise. But can you share anything?
The echo chamber will be less echoing at Relativity Fest. We're trying to leverage Relativity Fest at the end of September to share more insights about what we're doing and why it really matters. But I think you're exactly right. I think our competition has done a really good job of articulating how they see GPT being leveraged in their platforms and in their development efforts. I have been much more focused on not taking the bait, so to say, and trying to be the first of saying something or trying to control the narrative, as opposed to being really thoughtful about what value, innovation with purpose, what value are we going to concretely provide our market, our customers, our partners, our users, in a manner that is following the AI principles that we really are beholden to. And so when you speak to Chris, our chief product officer, you'll hear him say this, and that is, we start with our principles. We're in a market where getting it mostly right isn't good enough. Protecting the data, security, privacy, the foundation of trust is ever more important in this market than almost any other market. And my background serves us well here. And so I think us being really focused on the AI principles, to leveraging the literally hundreds of people that we have developing AI solutions in our company, and I mean hundreds, which is probably the size of our competitive R&D teams entirely. Doing that with caution and care while being thoughtful and urgent about providing a solution that really concretely matters. And so I think you'll be really excited about what we're doing. We have a number of pilots going on with customers and partners as we speak to make sure that we have it right. Again, this is that customer partner centricity thing that I think is something that I didn't bring to the company, but perhaps really leveraging further.
So I was going to ask about Fest, because this will be your first Chicago Fest.
Yes.
So you must be really excited.
I am. I actually was at Fest last year in Chicago, but I was at Incognito. Yeah. I was John Smith with a name badge, and really trying to, this is before I think the company determined I was the right fit, and before I determined for sure I thought it was a good fit for me. There was this connective tissue opportunity. And I think Fest was one of those moments in time where it all came together for me. Just being part of something that was so much bigger than just a company Fest event. It was a lot more than that.
So what's the thing you're most looking forward to at Fest this year, being the man in control?
Yeah, I would say actually not being the person in control. Watching my teammates do their thing is something that I'm going to take I'm already taking great pride in. So to me, it's a wonderful opportunity to watch the team have its swagger, conviction about what we're doing. It really matters. And so that to me is a really exciting opportunity. I'm also looking forward to taking advantage of getting personal with our customers and partners. What's so interesting for me, and I just came back from ILTACon in Orlando, Florida, a couple weeks ago. And for me, it was such another aha moment of a market that's so clinical and so detail-oriented that you would almost think it would be impersonal. Yet it's literally the opposite.
Yeah.
It is entirely personal. And so when I think about Relativity Fest, or when I think about the company, there's what we do and there's why we exist. I think in no small part, Fest, as we call it, is an opportunity to share a bit more about why we exist. And that is really to service to our very, very best capabilities, our partners and our customers. And if that's not a feeling our Fest teammates leave with, teammates meaning the people that join us, then we've missed the mark, because that is really what we're here to do.
And I guess there'll be some sort of announcement with the GPT thing.
Yeah, there'll definitely be some. Yeah, there'll absolutely be some exciting news coming out of Fest for our people. Yeah, we've been trying, again, this is not for dramatic purposes. It's just trying to make sure that we have the right environment. And I don't think it'll be a Big Bang Theory. We work in a world where software development is agile. It's no longer waterfall, right? There's no Big Bang Theory.
God, if you see how far it's come just in the last 12, 18 months, where's it going to go by this time next year and beyond?
And I think that's one of the things that we're really being thoughtful of is this is not a flash in the pan. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon.
Yeah.
And when we think about, should we get our announcement out there? Breathe.
Yeah.
Everyone breathe.
Yeah.
Right? We've been doing this for 20 years. We're going to do this for another 20 plus years. Let's get this right. This is like the internet. This changes everything. Yeah. And it will continue to evolve over the years. So making sure our AI principles are sound, making sure that we as an organization understand what our mission and vision is as it relates to GPT and large language models, because this could be bigger than GPT, right?
Continue growing.
Right, and there's more and more entrants to that market. So we're, obviously we're a tremendous Microsoft partner, and so we're super supportive of that, but we're looking at the wider aperture, and I think we're doing it with proper breathing.
So you mentioned Microsoft just then, and there are obviously other partners. You created a role specifically for that, and also a chief administrator.
Yes, 2 new roles inside the company. When I joined the company in December, it was very clear to me almost nearly day one, from conversations with the leadership team and with Mike Gampson, our former CEO, who's a wonderful human being, that the current chief legal officer was moving on. And that created an opportunity for me to think about redesigning that role to be more than just a chief legal officer. But looking at the bones of the company, if you will, this is a really great company that grew very, very quickly. And I would say that when you think of the word scale, enterprise systems, processes, ability to make effective, decisive decisions, delegations of authority, all things that aren't super sexy to talk about, but if you're really looking to scale a company to be multi-billion, these are things that you need to have in place to foundationally grow and serve your market. And so that was very clear to me based on my prior experiences that we had a gap there. Yeah. And it's not judgment upon our people, it's just that it didn't exist. Yeah. And so that, to me, brought the opportunity to bring on Adam Weiss as our Chief Administration Officer and Chief Legal Officer. And solving things like getting contracts back to customers faster would be one really simple example where the integration of those 2 pieces come together. Again, as we talked about earlier, this understanding of what made us once awesome and what I believe will continue to make us a fantastic business is the importance of partnerships. And those partnerships are strategic, like Microsoft. They're the partners that help take our product and our capabilities to market with their own special sauce, whether that be with people or technology. And that was very, very clear to me that the motions of the company, the go-to-market team certainly got that. But the organization entirely, certainly at the executive level, there wasn't a voice at the executive level table that brought up the conversation about the integration and necessity and value of partnerships. And so spending time with Lori Yusevich, who I've worked with for nearly 20 years, it was very apparent that her background was apt and fitting for what we were doing here. I also believe there was a good cultural fit. And I think you should ask others beyond me, because I'm biased, whether Adam or Lori were just folks that Phil knew that he slammed into the organization, or was there cogent thought that said, these folks are certainly experienced, capable, and competent, and they're a good cultural fit for not where we are, just where we are, but where we're going. I think you'll get a resounding hell yeah on that.
One of the things that we've heard you say recently, and I guess this ties into your B2B2C thing,
Yes.
is about work-life balance and creating a platform that for its end consumers, the reviewers, the lawyers that are working on it, making it easy, so to give them a better work-life balance.
Yeah, B2B2C for sure.
Yeah. We've heard about your gym. We've heard about, yeah. What is it you do to relax that work-life balance?
I would say beyond the making yourself move and lift heavy things, or putting yourself in an environment where you're uncomfortable. For me, I get great joy in being uncomfortable.
Really?
Yeah, I really do. And I know that sounds super odd, but there are some people that I think veer away from, they want to stay in their comfort zone. When I'm in my comfort zone, I get bored very, very quickly. I'm someone that...
It's a beautiful place, but nothing grows there.
Yeah, I actually never heard that, but I'm going to steal it.
Brilliant.
You can still be B2B2C, and I'll steal that tagline.
Thank you.
But for me personally, when I'm comfortable, I feel sedentary. I feel that I'm not growing or evolving. And, a body in motion is a body well lived. So for me, being in environments that are utterly uncomfortable and being comfortable saying, I don't know, or as we talked about earlier, making a mistake is something that I'm really excited about. For instance, I've done martial arts my whole adult life, but now entering the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a markedly different art form, and one that I'm utterly uncomfortable with, which is to say I'm getting my butt beat on a regular basis. However, you learn from those moments, and they provide, I think, your mind and your body an opportunity to reinvigorate brainwaves and build that body-mind continuum. And so I love being uncomfortable. I really do. It's a really weird thing. I would say the other thing that I really enjoy is I'm a voracious reader. I find reading to be one of those.
So you can sit still.
Yeah, I can. And again, and not just the phrase, I am ADHD, self-defined. I'm a hyperactive person, but with proper breathing exercises, which I can bore you to death with, and meditation, I can sit down and really devour a book. You'll find me to have to reread pages because I'll get distracted, or I'll reread books. Like my kids will say, Dad, you read that book 3 times. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm reading it again. Like, and you'll see me reading multiple books at the same time because, yes, I can get stagnant. I can get bored, even if it's an enthralling book. So those are 2 things that I, beyond being uncomfortable, I think reading is one of those things that really nurtures the soul.
Well, Phil, thank you so much for doing this interview.
Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Hosting me in Relativity.
Welcome here. Welcome here. I'll see you at Relativity Fest.